All right, this is the answers for exercise 5 from grade 1 music theory. It says, write the rest which has the same time value for each of these notes. So the page that you see has the UK terms. So we're going to use the USA terms. So the first question says, what rest is this one? This is the 8th note, so we'll draw our 8th rest. We start by making a ball, then almost like the number 7. Then we have a half note. So for this one, we need to make a hat on the line, on the middle line. So we start by making a line, and then we draw a hat and fill it in. Next one is a whole rest. So for the whole rest, we start by making a line, and then we make a hole in the line. So the half rest looks like a hat. The whole rest looks like a hole. Next one is the 16th note rest. So we'll make 2 now lines, just like that. A 7 with an extra flag on it. And then finally, the quarter rest. We make a quarter rest by drawing a lightning bolt and a C. At least something similar to that, as best as you possibly can. So there we have all of our rests. Then it says, write out 5 rests from question 1 in order of longest to shortest. So we start with the whole rest. Then we write the half rest. Then we write the quarter rest. Oh, sorry, my iPad has made a curved line. Then we write the 8th rest. And then finally, the 16th rest. So there we have our rests from longest to shortest. The next one says, write a whole bar rest in the second bar. This question is actually slightly trickier than you might imagine because it says 3/4 time. So if you paid attention, you might think, oh no, how do I make a 3-beat rest? But because we have one full measure of rest, we're going to use the whole rest. So even though it's 3/4 and our whole rest gets 4 counts, we would only write, sorry, I deleted everything, that's not what I intended. We only write the whole rest. Then it says, how can you tell the difference between a minim, or a half, and a semi-breve, or whole rest? So you can remember that the minim, or the half rest, we'll say a half rest sits on the middle line. The whole rest hangs from the second line. And actually, we shouldn't say second, sorry, we should say the 4th line. Always counting from the bottom to the top. So, you can also remember a half rest looks like a hat. So a half rest looks like a hat, and a whole rest looks like a hole. That's the way I remember it, but you may have a different method. Then we're going to move on and do our final exercise page of the dotted notes and rests. So again, we'll find the USA terms again. So explain how a dot affects the time value of a note. So we would say it increases the value by half or by 50%, however you want to say that. Meaning that if we have a quarter note and we add a dot, that it's saying it's the same thing as having a quarter note plus an 8th note, since we know from our previous chart that half of the value of a quarter note is 1/8 note. So this would equal 1.5 beats. So 1.5 beats. So copy these notes out in order of time value from longest to shortest. So we're on our F line. So we would have the whole note is first. Then we go to the dotted half note. Then we go to the half note. Again, trying to make sure that your notes are nice and evenly drawn in the space. The next one is the dotted quarter note. Making it as neatly as possible. Then we go to the quarter note. Then we have the dotted eighth note. We have the eighth note. And the last one would be our 16th note. So there we have our notes copied out in order of time value from longest to shortest. Next, it says write one note which is worth the same as the notes added together. So our first example, 2/4 is the same as a half note, which means we have 2 beats. Next, for this exercise, or for the second question, it would be a dotted half note. So we'll draw our half note on the G line. Next one, we have 3/8 notes, the same as a dotted quarter. And then finally, we have a half note plus a dotted quarter plus an eighth, which would give us 1 whole note. So if you got any of those incorrect, you can also use down below, you can figure this out by using the number of beats. So we have 1 plus 1 is 2. We have 1 plus a half plus 3/4 of a beat plus 1/4 of a beat, meaning that we get 3 beats. We have a half plus a half plus a half, giving us 1.5. If we have our last question, we have 1.5 plus a half, giving us a total of 4 beats. So, next question, these are now using our same idea from before, but we're adding and we're including our dotted notes. So back to that chart that we had on our previous exercise. How many eighth notes are there in a dotted quarter? That would be 3. There are 3/8 in a dotted quarter. How many quarter notes in a dotted half? This one is again 3 beats. So we have 3/4. How many dotted quarter notes are there in a dotted half? Dotted quarters are 1.5 each, and a dotted half is 3, so we would have 2 in our dotted half. 16th notes. How many 16ths, which is a quarter of a beat, are there in a dotted quarter note? A dotted quarter note gets 1.5 beats, meaning that we have a total of 6 16th notes in the space of 1 dotted quarter note. So that takes us to the end of exercise 6 on dotted notes and rests using the USA terms.